What up everybody, D-Man back, welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Shin Godzilla Explained. Today we're going to dive in deep to one of the most debated questions in Shin Godzilla, and that is, what would happen if the JSDF had attacked Godzilla in Shinagawa? Would the JSDF have successfully killed Godzilla while he was in his third evolution if the helicopters took the chance and opened fire, or would Godzilla have retaliated in an even more destructive way than we could possibly imagine? Let's jump into it. One of the biggest questions raised by Shin Godzilla is regarding his third form, commonly known as Shinagawa-Kun. Godzilla makes landfall in his second evolution and goes on a rampage. He suddenly stops in Shinagawa. He then transforms into his third form, evolving from a crawling gilled tadpole-like creature into a dinosaurian monster that better resembles the Godzilla we know and love. His rampage continues for only a few minutes as Godzilla comes to a stop at a train track, just in time to be confronted by AH-1S attack helicopters. To truly understand if the 4 helicopters sent out to fight Godzilla would have been enough to stop him, we must first look at his second evolution and answer the questions of why Godzilla evolves and what the cost of that evolution was. The 4 choppers were dispatched to confront Godzilla's second form, Kamata-Kun, and would have likely overpowered that creature easily. Kamata-Kun is a 19.7 foot tall, eel-like monster that is 400 feet from head to tip of tail. While the length is truly overwhelming, the overall size of Kamata-Kun places him in a pretty low tier among kaiju. His skin also appears as soft and flabby, with lots of exposed flesh beneath. His mouth is deformed, his back is peeled apart where his spines have protruded, exposing his insides, a weakness that will later be exploited on Godzilla's much stronger fourth form. And given that each form of Godzilla is stronger than the last, and Godzilla's fourth form is seen vulnerable to many attacks from the unmanned train bombs, to the building traps, to the bunker buster bombs, Kamata-Kun would have been a fairly easy target. His slow speed and accessible weak points are easy to exploit. Worst of all is a fact that remains true for all forms of Godzilla and holds the key to Shin Godzilla's true power limit. While this fanbase has created an over-exaggerated version of this character in their minds, and power scalers blow Shin Godzilla's evolution ability out of proportion, we learn early on that Godzilla is particularly weak from the inside. Not only does Godzilla take his most extreme damage when bombs enter the exposed flesh on his back and explode within him, harming him so severely he needs to unleash his ultimate weapon to defend himself, but we learn that all of his internal blood and tissue can be destroyed. Blood samples from Godzilla's second form are collected by a few scientists. Not many get the chance to examine Godzilla's DNA because the US, seeking to cover up their involvement in the creation of Godzilla, pressure the Japanese into burning the remains. This works effectively and erases all samples of Godzilla's existence. Godzilla can be killed from the inside. Shin Godzilla is not the only Godzilla to operate this way. Godzilla -1 works in a very similar way, with impenetrably thick protective armored skin, but exploitable insides. This makes Kamata-Kun's gaping mouth an even bigger target. It's clear from Kamata-Kun's design, taking heavy inspiration from aquatic animals, to the way it struggles to walk, Godzilla is not fit to be on land. Godzilla started as a prehistoric sea creature that was exposed to radioactive waste. It adapted to feed on the nuclear waste, and that mutated its physiology, transforming it into the first unseen form of Godzilla. Compelled by unknown motives, this creature seems determined to make landfall and attack Tokyo, transforming into its second form to accomplish this. Its second form proves unfit for land, as it's clumsy, hard to control, struggles to get past cars and over buildings, and needs to better adapt to its land-based environment. He also has gaping open gills, constantly leaking blood on the streets. This is happening because he is dying by being on land. Kamata-Kun is a creature in constant agony ever since he leaves the ocean. This is the real reason he evolves the way he does. Kamata-Kun is dying on land. To survive, Godzilla's third form is an improvement in every way. His feet and legs transform to support an upright posture, the nubs that presumably were once fins take the shape of developing arms, his tail shortens and is no longer built to aid in travel through the ocean, but is now meant to balance on land, and he increases in size to help overcome obstacles. It's important to note Godzilla still is not built for combat and is still developing. There are lots of exposed wounds on his face, and his back remains split open. Godzilla's new form can barely walk. Later, another weakness of Shin Godzilla is exploited. The train bombs and building traps can easily knock him over despite being overwhelmingly bottom heavy. Godzilla's third form is top heavy, meaning it would be even easier to take him down. A standoff occurs between Godzilla, who now stands at about 187 feet, and the 4 helicopters. While we've seen time and time again that even a 164-foot Godzilla can prove to be too much for far more advanced weaponry to handle, this Godzilla is not as privileged. Again, Shin Godzilla's 4th form is far more powerful than this current one, and yet he takes damage from stealth bombers, train bombs, and building traps. This form would take damage from far more than that. Just before the attack begins, civilians begin crossing a train track near the attack site. The Prime Minister halts the attack out of fear of civilian casualties. As a result, the helicopters are drawn back to their holding positions and Godzilla escapes into the ocean. From there, the rest is history. But before we can truly answer what would have happened if they opened fire, we must finally look at why Godzilla retreats in the first place. Moments after the helicopters draw back, Godzilla begins to glow red. Godzilla stops before he even sees the helicopters, indicating something is wrong. Then, moments after the helicopters retreat, Godzilla's back begins to glow red. A trait special to Shin Godzilla is that he only roars when in pain, which actually helps us to know what's hurting him and when. This happens such as when he completes his 3rd evolution and cries out in agony. Once again, as Godzilla's back glows red and begins to simmer, the creature roars before reversing course, reverting to its hunched over position, now resembling its 2nd form again, and sprinting at full speed back to the ocean. We later learn that Shin Godzilla's body is one large nuclear reactor. His dorsal fins are heat vents that can both charge atomic energy and, traditionally, disperse excess. This is another reason Godzilla's back must remain exposed, to allow heat to exit from his body. Otherwise, he will trap all that heat within him and explode, as what happens with Burning Godzilla, Godzilla Filius, and almost Godzilla in King of the Monsters. Godzilla's blood is the cooling system for his body. To simplify the science here, the way real-world nuclear reactors work is through a process called fission, where neutrons are added to nuclei that don't need them, resulting in them becoming energetic and splitting. Sometimes they split and release more neutrons that can then attach themselves onto other nuclei, and if this process isn't stopped, it causes a chain reaction that results in an explosion. This is what's happening inside of Godzilla's body to give him energy and to keep him going. To stop him from exploding, Godzilla's fins seem to act the way absorber rods work in real life, absorbing excess neutrons to stop any chain reactions. This trick is actually what they exploit to come up with Operation Yashiori in the end. To achieve his atomic breath, he seems to be able to allow his fins to charge up and let that chain reaction occur controlled within him, only to unleash the excess radiation as a weapon. Nuclear reactors are often in water chambers that cool them down. There are other methods that they use to cool them down as well, but given that transfer of energy always heats things up, nuclear reactors require a lot to cool them down, and so water helps to do that. This is how Godzilla's blood works. After Godzilla evolves into Shinagawa-Kun, his body begins to overheat. It seems that the amount of energy needed to transform his body heated him up so much to a degree that his new form wasn't able to release all the excess heat on its own. For power scalers out there, this seems to neutralize Godzilla's evolution factor, because evolving requires so much energy that it could drain him or cause him to overheat. Beyond that, Shinagawa-Kun wasn't sustainable to begin with and was not producing the required internal elements to cool himself off. It seems likely, given how Godzilla evolves next, that he would have overheated in his 2nd form at some point as well, because to avoid reaching meltdown or exploding, Godzilla rushes to the ocean to allow the outside cool water to help him cool off his insides, while evolving into a form better able to be on land without overheating in the first place and without needing external water to cool him off. This overheating is likely what Godzilla was seeking to solve in the infamous deleted scene where Shinagawa-Kun unleashes a flood of steaming blood onto the streets of Tokyo. It's possible he was trying to get that heat out of his body, while also serving as another indication of how in pain he is after his evolution. With all of that out of the way, I believe there are a few scenarios that could play out if the JSDF opened fire, but I feel this one is the most likely. The Minister of Defense, Reiko Hanemori, warns Prime Minister Okochi that civilians are present. As he's about to abort the attack, a minister speaks up that civilian casualties will happen either way as this creature continues its rampage. The Prime Minister pauses, but then authorizes the use of force. The helicopters open fire, striking Shinagawa-Kun's face, immediately harming him. Well, While his skin proves harder to pierce than expected, his large eyes and exposed flesh cause him to reel back and roar, turning and retreating to the ocean. While fast, Shinagawa-Kun can't outrun the 171-mile-per-hour speeds of an AH-1S, which pursue and continue fire. Now with his back facing them, the bullets make impact, causing steaming blood to pour through the streets. Once in the evacuated portions of the city, the helicopters use their rockets, penetrating Godzilla's back and finishing the job. Godzilla tumbles over, knocking buildings onto himself in the process. As he attempts to get back to his feet, his internal reactor deals the final blow and he overheats. Godzilla would then either explode or melt down near the shoreline, unable to make it back to the ocean to save himself. The plan was a success. In most scenarios I can imagine, if the JSDF had opened fire on Shinagawa-Kun, he would have died. He had too many easily exploitable weaknesses, from his clumsy legs to his self-destructive body. If engaged, it was only a matter of time. Most of all, this makes the most sense thematically. The entire point of Shin Godzilla is that this disaster happens due to a poor and negligent response from the Japanese government. At every turn, the authority in charge is making the wrong call, from dismissing the potential threat of Godzilla at sea to announcing to the public that he can't make landfall. The Prime Minister makes a lot of well-intentioned decisions with disastrous and foreseeable consequences. One of those decisions was allowing Godzilla to escape, giving him time to enter his fourth evolution, and allowing him to show back up and kill the PM and his cabinet in Tokyo. There are a few potential ways for Godzilla to escape, however. If the Prime Minister only authorized the use of machine gun fire on Godzilla, it's likely it wouldn't have been enough to kill him. This is a potential, given their strategy to combat Godzilla in Nakahara Ward, Kawasaki, Kanagawa, which is to attack one step at a time. It's also possible that the JSDF wouldn't be given authority to pursue Godzilla if he began retreating. In either case, Godzilla would experience combat firsthand and would have a much better understanding of his own limitations. Following this, he might have taken longer at sea, spending more time evolving into a more combat-ready, completed form. The coagulant might have been completed in this timeline, but without the data on Godzilla's updated form, it's likely it would have failed. Given the thematic weight of missing the chance to kill Godzilla when it's right in front of them, Shinagawa-Kun's numerous weaknesses, and his overheating internal reactor, it seems most likely that if the JSDF had attacked Godzilla when they had the chance, they would have killed him and avoided all the destruction that follows. While it's possible the civilians may have been killed in the attack, it's also possible that they might have escaped, as it's never clearly shown where they are in relation to Godzilla at the time of the decision to withdraw from combat. Either way, I believe Shinagawa-Kun would have died where he was birthed, in the middle of Tokyo, and the day would have been saved. But what do you think? I would love to hear what everybody's thoughts are. Please comment down below and let me know. Do you think they would have actually been able to kill Godzilla's third form? I would love to hear your answer. I know it's been debated for years, but given the way I've broken it down, what are you thinking? I really do think they would have been able to kill him. And I can picture scenarios where he would have escaped, but I just think it's more likely that given how clumsy he was, the dude was toast. But either way, comment below and let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. And please comment down below and let me know if you have any other questions after Shin Godzilla. Either Shin Godzilla Explained videos where you want me to dive into the lore of the movie, or are there any other what-if scenarios you want me to explore on the channel? I would love to keep the Shin Godzilla hype train rolling. I just miss the movie and it's fun to talk about it again, and I have other ideas for other videos in this series that I would love to release, and so I'm going to keep doing that. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. As always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons on Patreon that I'm able to continue to make videos like this for you. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below where you can get early access to content, access the Discord community, and more. If that's not your thing, please consider joining as a channel member. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man, out.